Watch this video if you want to find out how a psychic can help you heal your relationship. My name is Dana from Better Topics, a platform where we're helping couples experience more love, joy, and connection, and where we have a lot of resources that can also help you achieve just that. Now, today I am interviewing Jusstine, who is the #1 psychic on Yelp reviews for psychics in LA. She has been a psychic for over 20 years, and she has appeared in many magazines doing psychic readings in the US and the UK as well. She has also predicted who will be the X Factor winner a few times in a row. And she was also asked to predict things like celebrities, babies, when they will have them, and whether they will be a boy or a girl. But today we are going to talk with Jusstine about relationships and how she has a very nice healing that can actually help you heal your relationship space in order to either get the perfect partner for you or to heal your current relationship that you are in. Now, let's welcome Jusstine. Thank you, Jusstine, for being here, and thank you for taking some time out of your, I know, very busy schedule to talk to us today.
Of course, I'm so excited to be here, so thank you for having me.
So tell me just a tiny bit about how do you see your work? Like, how would you present it to someone? Because I mean, I did a short intro, but obviously you see things slightly differently. So let me have your side.
Well, I'm a clairvoyant, and I've been a professional psychic and healer for over 30 years. And I live here in Los Angeles, and that means I've read lots of celebrities, but they're just normal people like us too, with all the same problems that normal people have. And I just have this ability to look at energy and be able to turn around and describe how that is affecting you in your physical world, and then help you to make changes of it. The whole idea is about helping you to change any kind of patterning that's happening in your life to help you get more of what you want.
Okay. So does that mean that anything that happens to us is actually influenced by us?
We'll say that again, like in the reading, or you just mean in your life in general?
In our life in general.
Yeah. Well, your life is a sum up of everything you've been through, which is all of your past lives, what you've been through this life, even energy from your family genetic line, say all of that will roll over and absolutely create this patterning of what's happening on the inside of you. And then that's naturally causing what's happening on the outside. And then it makes it so much easier for people to kind of understand that, you know, most people are running around trying to solve everything by fixing things in the outside, when really we heal it within ourselves, and then the outside naturally aligns with that.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So what about karma?
Karma, great question.
Yeah.
In my understanding of karma and what I've seen, it's not like some person up above who's deciding what's good or bad for you. It really is like this cause and effect, right? So at one point somewhere, even from way at the beginning of time, we've done something that is just coming back around when we can handle it to naturally write itself out. And that means unfinished business with people, you know, whatever you've done to certain people, those people can cross your path, and then you have a situation with them that might not make a lot of sense in the real world, or a very similar pattern plays out. So a lot of people are very afraid of that word, or you know, what bad karma is or good. I don't see it as good or bad. It just is cause and effect.
Makes sense. So how can we be sure that if such people do cross our paths, you know, we let's say solve everything that was there to solve from either past lives or past?
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't it be great if we had some exact science with this? I mean, all we really can do, it would be
amazing, yes.
All we can really do is work on being the best that we can be, right? Like how we can say, be in our higher self. It's very easy for people to kind of be pushed into their lower self or their lower nature. Most people say, get caught up in the physical desire of things that they want versus really moving into the space of like, what is the highest and best for everything and everyone involved. So all we can do is really, do the best in each moment. It's very natural as humans to go looking for this A plus B equals C and having an understanding on like a mental or a logical explanation. I mean, obviously it's the number one relationship questions. Why did this happen? Why did this person do this? Why did it work out this way? When really it's that asking the why is what can forever get us looped into like this mental state and actually very stuck, because everything that's happening is energetic. And that's why as we kind of release the energy around it that we're holding on to, that's how we start to get out of it. And then, the people that we have the most karma with, I don't know that this is what keeps bringing us back together over and over, where we're naturally reincarnating around each other, having an opportunity to work these situations out.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what about spirits? Are there spirits?
Well, we all have a spirit, right? And then we don't actually die when we die. So just like when I'm reading, I'm actually communicating with spirit. All psychic ability is communicating with spirit. It's just that our life on the other side, it can be very similar to what's happening here. We might just lose our physical bodies. So if we had mental issues or emotional issues, we're still going to be dealing with that on the other side. So if you're going to be communicating with spirit, you really want to know what you're tapped into and who you're communicating with, because you wouldn't run up to some stranger in the street and take their advice, right? We want to be very aware of where this information, when we go to get a psychic reading and we're communicating with spirit, who is this person we're communicating with, so that it isn't something that just sends us down a pathway leading to nowhere, and that it is this information that can really truly help us with what's going on in our lives.
Okay, so just to understand this better, and I'm sure many of our listeners have similar questions. Can they actually influence us, like spirits? Can they influence us in our life, our physical life?
Great question. I really see it as now a lot of people will think that their spirit guides are people that they knew in this lifetime, when again, if people pass and they're still working on their stuff, we can have connections with people that we love, but your guides and teachers are really spirits that you knew for lifetimes, and they're really about your spiritual destiny, which is more than just this lifetime. If our goal is to break the cycle of coming back over and over and one day master life and death, so they really are there as a guide to inspire us. But and then some of us are working with masters that are ascended. That's what we're trying to do, is go from human to master. And so they can't really step out of their mastership. They would then lose that. So all they really can do is inspire us, where hopefully we are clear enough to be able to get the messages that they're getting to us in a way that aren't convoluted. So I think that absolutely, I mean, to me, some of the most incredible concepts and ideas and understandings, it's all coming from spirit that is absolutely then affecting us. But it just really depends upon your relationship that you have with yourself, and then how that relationship is with your guides, because just because you're hearing something, again, doesn't mean it's coming from the highest and best place. So absolutely. How
can we tell the difference though?
Well, I mean, that is what our spiritual path is about, for being able to hopefully be led to being able to study and grow spiritually from information that we can somehow have some kind of proof and evidence that it is a truth. Again, it's just as your relationship with yourself grows and becomes more clear, then that is really the way for you to be able to trust your relationship with your guides and teachers that are in spirit. So that is the spiritual path.
Okay, amazing. Yeah. And what there was one thing that I found on your website and I really, really loved. You said that all relationships, your relationships, are the direct result of your energetic pattern. Can you just explain a bit more about that?
Well, it again is that, so when you think about it, all those past lives we've had where we've picked up some conditioning, and then how we've been raised. We pick up stuff from our parents, and then even again, this say genetic stuff that we don't even realize, that's kind of, energetically stored within you, and everything that you're doing in your life is going through like these veils of that. And so for me, the work that I do, which of course is about the psychic answers, that's what people come to me for, but I've really found that destiny is not set in stone, that we can change these things by changing, finding a true way to release that patterning within us. And that is why I do that healing work, which many years ago I was so so blessed to be inspired and led through what my guides gave me is as I started walking people through that healing, and then they started reporting back to me. Really, that recording came because I was so jealous of what my clients were reporting back to me that I was like, I need to record this so I do it for myself. And then it was like, okay, I might as well let other people have it too. But so yeah, because I think so many, therapy and talk therapy, that's great if that's helping people. But again, even when we find that A plus B equals C, it doesn't help us release it out of our body. So that is the difference of what I feel there needs to be more of a focus on, is how do we release this energy we're holding on to. And if you're in a relationship with someone, you're sharing your aura, you're picking up energy with them, you're picking up even karma from them sometimes. And so most people, when they say how to let it go, if our mind could so easily do that, we'd do that. When people would be like, let it go, right? But nobody's really taught us or walked us through how we let go of energy. And just the thing that makes me so happy is like taking someone who just can't even imagine being over an ex, or being in an abusive relationship, or being in some kind of relationship where they can't let go of how that person affected them, and they get so surprised by themselves of how immediately, when they start doing that healing, how it can shift their energy and they feel so much better. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit more about this specific relationship healing, because as I said in the intro as well, people who are listening to us and they want to get it, they can get it from the Better Topics Marketplace. I will leave links for that in the video just below this.
Amazing.
Tell us a bit more. What exactly is that healing?
The Heal Your Relationship Space healing, it's really just like this little 14-minute vacation from your mind. But it's really, how everyone's so obsessed with detoxing their body and doing a juice cleanse. It's really best described if you could take a shower from the inside out, if you were to do a juice cleanse, but you were focusing just on your relationship space to be able to clear out, say, just energy around all the past relationships that you've had, and the ones that we don't even realize are affecting us, that say are from past lives, or what we so watched and experienced from our parents as kids. And the beautiful part is it can only help you. It's really just kind of working with you and your higher self to help you get more clear. It can't hurt a relationship that you're in. And if you're, say, wanting to bring a new relationship in your life and feeling kind of stuck, it can help with that. It's just all about moving energy, all about cleaning up what you no longer need, because we have to empty out, just our worlds are so full of everything we're absorbing from like computers and phones and people and everything we've been through. We're kind of filled to the rim with this stuff, and it just helps to create new space so that you can bring in what's new and what's next.
Amazing. That sounds so good. So basically our listeners can, after a 14 minutes, how many times should they listen to it, by the way?
Great question.
Is this something they just do once, or should they have to do it like, I don't know, for 6 months, 1 year? How long?
Yeah, well, there's no rules, right? And so, and you download it once and it's good for life. If it never stopped, if we were to ever find it doesn't stop working, you can just email and I'll send you another copy. But you want to do it at least 7 times, because we have not just our physical body, we have 7 vehicles of consciousness. So you have a mental body, an emotional body, a spiritual body. So we want to do it at least 7 times, because every time it's releasing energy out of these bodies. Our goal is to really have those bodies align and know those bodies, and have them working together. And so the more and more we do it, just the more it releases energy. And there's no rules. I mean, some people will do it a lot and kind of put it away and bring it back out again whenever they need it. So
that's amazing.
it really helps you also, like if you're in a relationship with someone and they have done something that's upsetting you, it really helps to take the energy off of that and kind of neutralize things and get your energy back so that you can not be so upset about what is triggering you.
That's amazing. I feel it's like this magical brush with like sparkly dust that basically you can just brush out all the negative energy and just leave enough space for the good one.
I love that description of it. There is just, it seems so subtle, but it just seems to really have some big magical push behind it. So.
Yes. Now, I just want to say this, not because I really like the meditation, but I do. You've actually done a reading for me last week, and also a healing at the end of it. And yep. I've literally had already results the next day. It was amazing how quick it worked. I couldn't believe it. Now, obviously, the whole thing is not done just yet, but it was still amazing to see, things already moving the very next day after having few weeks where things seem to be just stuck and not moving in any direction, really.
I love that. That's so exciting. Amazing. And it's so cool because people don't ever have to have a session with me. They can just download that healing and get incredible results. Or if you do decide to get a session, that is the healing I do in every session. But I love hearing that. That's so exciting.
So what is it in this meditation that actually makes it work?
Well, what is it? The best way to describe it, it's that we don't even realize what we're holding on to. So it is, as it walks you through, I mean, you're just listening and following through what it's saying to doing, but it just actually is helping you to release the energy you're holding on to. It's just a tool that it's a tool that works to help you release energy.
That is amazing.
Yeah, it's and who cares how it works? We just know it does work.
So what are a few other things that we could do to protect ourselves from other influences from outside? So because as you said in the beginning, we absorb all this energy from other people, from situations, from even things like a laptop or a phone. What can we do so we don't allow ourselves to get so filled to the rim, basically?
Yes. And it really is, it's just, energy is very real, thoughts are very real. It's just like you can be having a great day and your friend calls you and tells you the story of what happened to them, and then you don't feel so great after. We're so affected by energy, whether we recognize it or not. So whatever you can do consciously to kind of, whether that's putting yourself in a bubble or imagining wearing like a suit of armor when you go outside, the more real that you can make that be for yourself is, even though it seems like you're just imagining it, but that's how we do bring from spirit into the physical. And that's why I say these incredible, super high paid basketball players, I mean, they do working with coaches to visualize seeing themselves get the ball through the hoop every time. And so it's the same thing. The more real we make it, the more real it's going to become. But I also, through my many years of knowing this is a very real thing, how we're so easily negatively affected by the energy of other people, and how it's very easy, if we're not the strongest energy, if we're not protected, that it's easy for us to say bend to the will of other people, of what they want for us, and get kind of clouded on what it is that we want. So I do have something called the protection program, and it is these thousands of broadcasted frequencies that clean up, like anyone who contacts me that feels like they're living in a home that has some weird energy, or that, it's a very real thing that people, and this is a very long answer, so forgive me, but many people contact me and they're very concerned if they have some kind of hex or a spell on them, which are very scary words. But those are just thought forms with a lot of power behind them. And so we want to be, we can even kind of hex ourselves from a past life where we made some decision or we took some vow and we don't even realize it's affecting us now. So the protection program actually works by cleaning up your home and then also starting to kind of clean you up and keeping you protected 24/7, just to get you in a space where you're not so negatively affected by the energy of other people. And obviously I can't make any promises, but once again, people have these incredible stories of how they know that it has affected and helped them in situations in work and in their own life. And those stories are amazing that, that people come back with. So
tell us some of those stories. What was the craziest story you ever heard?
Well, I know
you've worked with many celebrities as well, and I know that sometimes you cannot actually give us names. If you can and you would, please do. If not, then that's fine. But just tell us, what is the craziest story?
I can tell you the craziest story, but from the protection program, there is a girl who lives in Los Angeles that was on it, and someone became very sick in a bar. And wow. I mean, this person, she pretty much like brought this person back to life. It was wild. Wow. And she's like, I know that was not me. It was like the program. But honestly, one of the craziest, I've done a lot of readings from people that are taking certain gigantic political positions, or joining presidential cabinets but one of the craziest readings I ever did was for I have to tell the story without giving it away, but it was the child of a big celebrity that had been accused of doing a huge crime. And she was walking around when she got a reading. She was, I told her, I said, it's like your higher self is consciously walking around asking if you could take the life of another person. And I know this is very shocking. And I had kind of seen past lives where she was abused and just took it. And then she finally fought back. It was really cool. Her career took a big jump after this, but I just went to be like, I see your parents' energy in your space, and I just want to start to clear this out. And when she said this person's name, I didn't know who she was, but it was very apparent who she was the daughter of, and it was a very public thing. And so because that person had been accused of murdering someone else, she was walking around consciously asking, or unconsciously, could I take the life of another person? But I just acted like no big deal when she told me the name, and I helped clean her up. And then later heard back that, same thing, stuff started to really move. So that was probably the craziest one I've ever done, because it was such a huge public, it was big. Yeah. That was big.
Okay.
But I've done a lot of stuff in the press, like picking the sex of Britney Spears' baby before she had it and stuff like that. And but that stuff.
I know you were also asked in the past to pick there are these shows with like Britain's Got Talent and US Got Talent, right. And all of these talent shows, and people just ask you to pick out the winner way before it even started airing, or even being decided who is going to be the winner. That
Daily Mail, a reporter from the Daily Mail kind of wanted to set me up and did an article and had me give him some stuff about what was going to happen on the X Factor in the UK. And in that story, I was able to pick the judge and very specific things that would happen with all the judges. And then later in another magazine story, pick the winner, all before the show aired, which it's like, if you're emotionally attached to getting it right, it's really hard because you're so attached. So I even shocked myself when all that happened. So that was cool.
So can you do readings from afar, or do you have to be quite close to that person?
Yeah, so there's no time or space for spirit. That's the really beautiful part. So it doesn't matter if you're sitting in front of me or if you're across the world. I have clients all over the world. And so that part doesn't matter where you are.
And this is another thing that I always wondered, because I did used to watch a lot of these Hollywood shows, like with psychics and how they meet people. And I understand that some people are not comfortable with sharing too much, but how do you actually do the reading? As in, do you see it in in like pictures? Do you hear things? Do you smell things? How does it work? How does the message come through to you?
That's such a great question. It's like, I can only make claims for how it works for me. And what I've learned is that people get information differently. We learn different, right? Some are auditory, some are visual, some are feeling. So I've really learned that it like I get it in the way that I can most clearly turn around and get you the message so that you'll get it, right? Because if you're like a visual person and I'm just describing how it feels, like I have to be able to give it to you in a way that you're going to get it, so that it can most positively affect you. So it's really different. It's really a combination of seeing and hearing and knowing and feeling. It's always different.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And does it happen like in a reading that you have more than one spirit that want to talk, or is it just like one and they're like in a row and waiting for their cue?
So it's never like, for me, it's just kind of like opening a book and starting to read a book. Like I get to turn it off, thank gosh. Otherwise, it would be, I know some psychics don't turn it off, and I'm not into giving unsolicited advice. I would never walk up to someone and be like, I see your grandmother. Like it just doesn't work that way for me. So it all depends. But they don't come up and be like, hi, my name's John. Or, it really just, I start getting the information and just deciphering it at this point. It's funny that I forgot what the question was.
Do you find yourself like sometimes when you're like in a waiting line or something that you just do a reading on someone?
Never. Like, can you imagine like, so it's like if you were an accountant and you're in a store that you start digging through someone's purse for the receipts to start to do accounting. So for me,
that's such a good example.
Like it's my full-time job and I've been doing it for so long, and I have plenty of my own stuff going on that when I'm not working, I'm focusing on that. So yeah, I really turn it on and off and don't look at people, because it's not kosher to look at someone without their permission. So all these psychics, you've got to be really careful of anyone that comes up to you giving you unsolicited advice, or any kind of store with a neon sign. There are people that are just trained to psychic ability should never be about predicting gloom and doom. It should never make you feel bad. You really want it to inspire you or heal you or comforting you. That's how you know you're working with a real like a real medium, a genuine medium. It should never be scary.
And how is it to use this for yourself?
Well, I mean, I feel very, because I've been doing this for so long and have studied at what's known as a true mystery school, that to me is very much science meeting spirituality. And so I feel very lucky that all this information that I've learned in development has come from like the same place. So, and so how I use it in my own life, like, again, I'm emotionally attached to the outcome of things. So, I might sense things, or I get a message that hits me over the head, later down the road, or, but I'm really lucky that I am shown these entire concepts of like TV shows, or I'm really great with other people's business stuff as well. Like so many people, it's so exciting, because just these whole concepts of what they should do to like solve situations in their career, or what they should go do sometimes if we're lucky enough and they're clear enough that it comes through. So so I don't really try to use it where I'm psychically trying to figure stuff out every day in my own life, because I'm human. Otherwise I'd be a master. I wouldn't be here.
You wouldn't need to do it then.
I'm working on going from human to master, that's for sure. This is a crazy place.
And in the beginning you mentioned that we all have this energy around us, and you're working towards helping other people, healing it.
Yeah.
Do you find that other people's energy affect you? Like people that you try to heal, if they have too much negative energy, does that affect you too?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I do, I wish I could read and help everyone. I do make people send a picture and kind of tell me what they want help with, because I never like taking money from anyone that I can't help. And we're all at a different consciousness level. So it just depends. Like there absolutely are people that I know that just would not be able to hear what I have to say to them. So unfortunately, I have to say, I'm sorry, I can't help them. But so, yeah, it's a constant forever keeping yourself, you just can never protect yourself enough. Energy is real. Dark and light is very real. The more, say, you get out there on a public level or, or just doing this work, there definitely are energies and just people that want to mess with you. So I definitely know what it's like to, just how there's that whole Me Too movement that happened in like the entertainment industry and everything. I have always had this just because it's not one of these things where everyone in the psychic spiritual healing world hang out together, because it's just like in anything in life. Anyone can say they're psychic. Anyone can say they're a healer. It doesn't mean they're coming from a place where their energy is not going to negatively affect you, or that they're like a sick psychic or they have stuff controlling them. And so, I try to have, my life at this point, I have like my little posse of people that I love that are safe, that I hang out with. And I love doing my work, and I'm really excited about, some future stuff that's happening. So, but I try to keep it very small because, I'm affected by other people's energy. Absolutely.
That's amazing. So, how did you come about discovering this psychic ability that you have?
Wow. Well, I never thought I was going to be psychic or, woke up with, it's just crazy to me that anybody would be like, I want to be psychic. I had a dad that was very intuitive, and my parents had clothing and shoe stores. So I grew up with him. Instead of bedtime stories, he would be psychically testing me about my day and teaching me crazy things like programming your subconscious mind. But I resisted it for a very long time. And I ended up moving into a house that had a super crazy poltergeisty ghost in Haight-Ashbury in it, and got out the day I could and went to this place where I got my own reading to be sure that energy didn't follow me, which it hadn't, and went back for a healing. And then I just never left. I spent like 6 years studying there.
Wow.
Which I don't suggest it to people. I knew it wasn't the answer. Like, it was very kind of like psychic boot camp training. And I was really walking around asking for something more. And that's when I ended up finding my way to this true mystery school, which to me, had that not happened, that saved my life really, and helped me so.
Wow.
And really truly develop. It's like our life, we're just like diamonds, and we got to polish all the little facets, perfecting our soul, that we can hopefully graduate from this place, because this planet does not make sense. It's crazy stuff going on.
It doesn't make sense at all. No. So if someone thinks that they might have psychic abilities, how can they be sure on that? Is there a way to test it? Or
well, I mean, look, we all have it. We just unfortunately have not been raised in a society that's given us a lot of permission to use it, right? So we all have it. It's just you can choose to not connect with it or block it out. Most people have like gone against their gut feelings or intuitions and have paid the price for that in their life, or then, did pay attention to their intuition and had good results come from that. It really all comes down to your relationship with yourself and you finding your way, whether you go to a bookstore and a book really stands out to you, that you're really creating your own answers. You're on your own path. So it's really what you were asking for, and also what you deserve, right? You can't really say be robbing banks and then expect these incredible great ascended masters to want to communicate with you and give you this, it's really just as we work for things in the physical world, and where you choose to be is like how that's going to open up more and more for you.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. That's great. Yeah. I mean, obviously healing, it's supposed to heal, but if you just use readings, and if you just use, if you just contact psychics for readings, does that affect your karma in any way, or your energy, even if it's just the reading and not the healing part as well?
Yeah, but information can be healing, right? So it still is a healing experience when you have information that resonates with you, or you get to connect with yourself. So it all still becomes, a healing. It doesn't mean that you have to have some kind of hands-on experience, or so everything again is just, inspiring you, healing you, and comforting you. One of those three things should be happening in a reading, and then that can turn around and absolutely open up things for you as long as you want to be grounded and rooted in the spiritual aspect of it versus like the phenomena psychic part of it.
Mhm. Amazing. That is amazing. Okay, so let's get back a bit to the relationship and how, your healing can help relationships as well.
Yep.
Is there anything else that people can do around healing their relationship? So let's assume that people, got the healing meditation, they're listening to it regularly. Is there anything else that they could boost it with, for example?
I wish there was a magic formula. I do believe the protection program also has lots of frequencies that help in that space. And I think, the greatest thing we can do is just know that we have to stop looking outside. It's really about what's happening on the inside of you. You have to have this amazing relationship with yourself to be able to turn around and have an amazing relationship with someone else. It really does work with like attracting like. And so, and also kind of let go of this that you have to find your soulmate, because everyone's concept, any kind of book that you've read or something that you've read on the internet about finding your soulmate is pretty much just human to human consciousness, right? And so it might sound lovely. It doesn't mean it's the highest truth. So it's, if you are lucky enough to come in contact with your soulmate, it can be a very difficult relationship. And our soulmate is really about that forever after. If the goal is to break the cycle and ascend, how would you know who to pick if you've had these hundreds of people in relationships in the past? So it's really just about finding long-term compatibility. And there's no rules, odds are that someone say that you have had a past life or a few with, that you just are able to, because you can love someone more than anything and they can love you back. It doesn't mean it's going to work out. We just really want mutuality, where what you want from that person, they want to give you, and vice versa. And then long-term compatibility. So it all really just is about what's going on inside of us.
That's amazing. This leads me to a thing that someone told me years before I've even met my husband, that at the end of the day, it's a decision to be with someone. Because we were discussing this we were having this massive discussion around infidelity in a relationship, and how can you be certain that this person is the right one. And this person was telling me that at the end of the day, it's a decision that you have to take, that I am going to be with this person, because considering how many of us there are out there on this planet, there can be 100 or maybe even 1,000 that could be compatible and you could fall in love with. But you just met this person, and then it's up to you to decide whether you are going to keep, this person, or you're just going to move to someone else who also might be compatible with you.
Yeah, it's a choice, is what I say, right? It's two people who choose to be together more than they choose anything else. And just remember, just because you are, say, attracted to someone, just because someone shows up that you're attracted to, it doesn't mean you're supposed to have sex with them or get into a relationship with them. That's a choice too. People many times ignore red flags, or, again, they just get caught up in the physical desire part versus like, is this a relationship that's really going to be the highest and best for you? So you're right. A decision, a choice, and looking at how that is going to affect your life in the future, not just in the moment.
That's true.
Yeah.
And this actually leads me to my next question, because, as I asked you just before, that if, how can someone know if they have like psychic abilities? And you very nicely answered to that. Thank you. But putting that into a bit of context with relationships, for example, how can someone know the difference between instinct, gut feeling, and emotions? If we meet someone, for example, if there's someone, who might be just at the start of a relationship, or they're just dating, and they're wondering that whatever they are feeling, is this actual instinct that tells them to move on with this person, or the contrary, to back off and just leave them alone? Or is it just emotions that they feel in that moment? How can they tell the difference between the two?
This is such a great question. And look, I have to say, I'm not a teacher, right? I can only tell people what I get for them in reading psychically. But it is, again, it just comes down to your relationship with yourself, because our feelings are not factual. And so you can be feeling something, and then if you allow that feeling to kind of rule everything. What you're asking is an incredible question. There's not an easy answer to it. It really just comes down to, over time, you end up knowing yourself more and knowing, if you can trust what you're feeling or not. So again, it's just about how clear you can get. And that if you have a pattern of, many people have these patterns of attracting people that are not available. So they're just creating, that's a big thing that the healing does, is take you out of that cycle of just creating the same thing over and over again, which is not creating anything at all, or just creating the same person wrapped up in a different package. So
yes.
We just want to be sure that we are, and I don't believe that everything is a lesson. I do believe there are lessons, but, we want to just clean things up and really work through it so we just don't jump into something else and it's the same thing happening all over again.
I love it how you said that the same person packaged in a different way. It's amazing. This is what happened to me actually before I met my husband.
Yeah.
I realized that I've been going through relationships with basically people that physically they were very, very different one from another. One was blonde with blue eyes, the other one was like very dark, the other one was taller, the other one was shorter, but they tended to have the same type of let's say issues that after analyzing a few of my past relationships, I realized that I'm actually attracting people with the same problems.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want this anymore.
It'll get more and more and more and more painful until you really recognize it.
Yes. And it took me a while to admit it to myself that, considering my past relationships, the only common point, the very common point, other than their issues that I was somehow attracting the same ones, was me, because I was basically going into those relationships and
yep.
I was attracting that, and that's when my journey of healing actually started. And that was when I took a decision that I'm not going to enter in any other relationship until I have that amazing feeling that yes, this is the one, or at least that, oh my god, this is amazing. Because up to that point I read so many books, I've seen movies and all of this, and everyone was like looking at each other, falling in love, and oh my god, that's it. You have the plot of the movie, the meet cute of the movie, and yes, and it's a movie. And I was like, I want it to be nice like that. I don't want the drama that sometimes follows in the movies, because it has to be, otherwise the movie is too boring.
Yeah.
But and I was like, I want to have like a meet cute like that, and also for it to be amazing continuously, and I was like, whenever, and I actually wrote down some of the issues that were most common in my former partners, and I took those, I transformed them into their positive, and I put it in this list that I've made for myself. It had like 21 points, and I made that list like, I think about 2 months before I actually met my husband. And it was interesting that when I met my husband through some very weird coincidences, it was very funny how we met. And when we were like going out and getting to know each other, I realized that he literally had all the good things on my list, and I was so blown away.
Amazing.
And the interesting thing is that once we started actually being together and I told him about the list, he just started laughing one day, and he's like, oh, let me show you my list, because he also had a list.
Amazing.
My list was like 21 bullet points, and my husband's list was like 36 points over 7 pages. It looked like a 7-page essay basically, with like 36 points on it. And because for each one I would just say like taller than me and dark hair, for example, like that, like quite simple. For him, he would describe each thing. So each point he would describe it in like 1 or 2 or 3 paragraphs, because he wanted to be,
more specific. The more specific, the better. He was doing it the right way.
Exactly. And the weirdest thing is that my husband actually had all the 21 points and more, and a lot of more really good things about him. And when I read his list and his essay, basically, it was as if I would have read a report that someone put together about me, which was so crazy, because I literally had all of them on his list, even down to short and long dark hair and green eyes, even down to the languages that we speak, because we speak 3 of the same languages, which for him, coming from a family that has 2 main languages, in a family that they speak, it was quite important. So also the interesting thing is that he wrote his list 3 years before we've actually met, which is mind-blowing to me how it actually came out to be.
But maybe he was just kind of psychically tuning in to you, and that's how he got all of that, even though it was 3 years before, right? Because there's no way that you haven't had past lives together,
I'm sure we have, because basically we basically grew up in the same city, but we've never met.
Yeah.
And I'm coming from a small village which is an hour north from the city, and he's coming from an hour south from the city. But we both moved to the city when we were like 14 and starting high school, which is quite a common practice in our culture. You move where the better schools are. And that was like 4 years of high school we've never met, and then 4 years of university in the same city. We've never met. We were like different faculties, but we've never actually met. And as students, we used to hang out in the same places, which is crazy to me. And straight after, I moved away and he moved away. And then we met at home, after so many years. And it was just crazy because once we started talking, it was like we would know each other for ages.
I love that. And you weren't ready yet, right? So it's like you naturally were drawn in each other's orbit, but it might not have worked out had you got together earlier, right? You got to go off and have these other experiences.
Exactly.
So cool. It's amazing. You guys are really the perfect people to do the site you're launching, right? Because you want, that's amazing.
Yes. Well, that's the thing is because of my past experiences, I actually educated myself a lot in relationships, and my husband did as well, because he's been in a past relationship that wasn't the greatest, but he always wanted to make it great, because we both have this, and maybe this comes from our family as well, where if something is not working, you need to work on it and fix it. You're not just going to throw it away and just leave it,
Yeah.
You try to fix it a few times. If it's not working then maybe you think of, maybe changing the person.
Wow.
And because of this, he also educated himself on relationships quite a lot. So when we've met, everything just fell into place so well and easy.
So rare. How many people do that? Especially men. That's amazing.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
You're very lucky. But you're not lucky. You created that. So I don't think that people are lucky. You make your own. So
yes.
Aww.
Yeah, so that's why when we actually launched Better Topics, it just made so much sense to us, because this is like a platform where we want to help people learn all the things that we learned, but not necessarily take all the years that it took us to learn them, So it's like giving them shortcuts, because everything is about speed these days, and how to just move on and let go of negative energy, because this is something I really, really love that you said, even when you did my reading and healing, and even today you touched on it, that although we might know sometimes what the problem is or the issues that we have, we don't always know how to let them go, which I think it's quite important to know how to just release that energy, let it go, and then just focus on, newer energy, and just like rinse it basically and refresh it with newer energy.
Yeah, and many things just kind of move energy around versus really being able to release it. So, and I, even though I love this product and have just seen it work so much for people, I don't know of a lot of things out there. There's something else called somatic experience that is really cool, that is about releasing trauma out of the body. And there's some technology, but I haven't found many things that really work like this. And just I love hearing people's stories when they email them to me. It's very cool. So
that's amazing. Thank you again very, very, very much for taking the time today and talking to us and educating us a bit on things. And before we go, I just want to remind everyone that they can find your healing the relationship space on Better Topics Marketplace. Again, I will leave links for that in the description box below.
Amazing.
Any last words for our listeners?
Oh, just thank you so much for having me. And I wish everyone lots of answers and healing.
That's amazing. Thank you so much again. Now, if you like this interview, make sure to hit the like button and also subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so far. And again, if you're interested in finding out more about this amazing healing that Jusstine offers us, you can find this on the Better Topics marketplace, and I will leave links for the healing down in the description bar below. Make sure to check that out too.